They told me they didn't ask. As usual, I was expected to be agreeable, efficient, the family's shock absorber. I'm Ava Merritt, 29, a forensic auditor with a fondness for quiet apartments and receipts that balance to the penny. Everything in my life has been earned the long, unglamorous way. Degrees at night, furniture from scratch, boundaries negotiated in whispers. My parents, Denise and Howard, translate that as Ava can handle it. My sister, Jenna, 3 years older, permanently mid-crisis, likes to call me Lucky, which is a neat way of turning discipline into an insult. Sunday dinner had its ritual. Pot roast, a centerpiece of grocery store daisies, conversation that tiptoed around the sinkhole at the center of our family. I knew something was staged the second Mom complimented my posture. Dad kept refilling water like he was paid by the poor. Jenna scrolled, tapped, sigh laughed, all the choreography of a person waiting to be rescued. Denise set her fork down and folded her hands. "We've been talking," she began softly. "Jenna needs a reset. She'll move in with you for a while." There was no question mark at the end of the sentence. Dad nodded at the table. Jenna didn't meet my eyes. I felt their script pause for my refusal, the cue they could label selfish. I smiled instead. If it helps Jenna get steady, I don't see why not. The room went oddly still like glass just before it cracks. Mom blinked. Dad exhaled through his nose. Jenna's shoulders loosened in a small victorious slump. What they didn't see was the math I'd already done. Weeks ago, I'd ended my lease, sold the sofa, and taken a month-to-month sublet across the river, with a lock no one had a spare for. I didn't announce it because no one asked. Silence, I've learned, is a boundary too. I finished my roast, kissed cheeks, and drove home, to my new key, my new quiet, and a phone lighting up with plans made for a place I no longer lived in. The sublet smelled of citrus and fresh paint, the kind of clean that feels like a promise. I stacked my audit files on the counter, made tea, watched the river drag evening light past. My phone buzzed. Mom asking for move-in dates, Dad offering tools, Jenna sending a blinking heart emoji as if gratitude could be outsourced to animation. I kept breathing until my pulse slowed. At 7:12, my former landlord called. "Your sister's here," he said gently. "She's at the old place with a suitcase and a plant that's seen things." I took the train. The block looked familiar and wrong, a set rebuilt with cheaper props. Jenna sat on the stoop, mascara weatherproofed by stubbornness, the plant on guard like a lopsided sentinel. "You didn't tell me you moved," she said, skipping hello. "I wasn't asked," I said, and the sentence surprised me with its steadiness. "Come on, we'll get a car." In the rideshare, she described her latest collapse. Job furlough, a boyfriend who collected guitars, and unfinished apologies. I listened the way I audit. Follow the trail, note the gaps, don't fix numbers for sentiment. At my place, I handed her sheets and a timeline. 3 weeks, I said. We'll make a budget, set interviews, and call the clinic Mom pretends not to know about. You'll leave with a plan, not a debt. She blinked. Since when are you this CEO? Since I learned kindness isn't endless, I said. We start tomorrow 9 a.m. At 9 sharp, I sketched a simple grid on butcher paper and handed Jenna a pen. We started with what we could control, 3 job applications before lunch, 3 after. When she drifted into postmortems, I steered us back to verbs: apply, call, follow up. By late afternoon, we had a week mapped and a small stack of confirmations that felt like air in a closed room. Tuesday, the clinic. Frosted glass, a clipboard, a half hour that ended with a standing appointment and a number to text if the ground went soft. We didn't make speeches on the sidewalk. We bought pretzels, circled the river, and let the quiet say, keep going. Interviews arrived on day 4. We rehearsed in my kitchen. Short answers, steady breath, stories that turned mess into method. She came back from the second interview with her shoulders lowered and a strange, careful smile. The offer landed the next morning. Front desk at a physical therapy practice, decent hours, a manager who sounded like he'd actually read her resume. She said yes before doubt could rehearse. Our parents called that weekend, ready to take attendance. I set the rules in one breath. She has a job, a budget, and a move-in date. You can cheer, you can't direct. The line held. We found her a small room 10 minutes from work and carried 2 boxes up a narrow stairwell that smelled like lemon cleaner and new paint. We celebrated on the curb with hot chocolate and a list of firsts. First paycheck, first Tuesday at 3, first weekend without the old gravity. I gave her a folder labeled START, savings targets, clinic reminders, the letter she wrote herself on day 1. She tucked it away like a passport. Back in my apartment, I rolled the paper plan and slid it into the closet. The room felt properly sized again. Jenna texted a photo of a cheap brass number and the words KeyWorks. I set one clean mug to dry, left another upside down beside it, and wrote a final line in the ledger I keep where numbers don't go. I helped without disappearing. The math held.